What would the experts say are 3 businesses that you should not buy?
This is not something that I would ever invest in, and neither should you have. You have, I'm out.
Well, I'm not the latest YouTube sensation, so perhaps my opinion doesn't count as much, but I do have years of experience buying and selling businesses. In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 businesses I would not buy and 3 businesses I would. So stay tuned and find out more. The first type of business that I would not buy is a multi-level marketing firm.
Obviously.
I realize that there are some benefits to an MLM firm and that the users are often very passionate about the products, and that's great for them. However, from a business owner's perspective, the design of the business, the way that you grow it, is not the type of growth that we're really trying to achieve.
It's not a pyramid scheme. It's not even a scheme per se.
It's the constant recruitment. It's the exponential need for that bottom level to add and recruit more people beneath them, and just many other reasons. You look at a company like Amway, very successful, employs multi-level marketing, maybe Mary Kay as well. Again, lots of examples. However, it's just not an industry or type of business that we would be too interested in. Now, just because we don't like that industry doesn't mean it's not a big industry. Over 40 billion in sales were attributed to multi-level marketing firms. I mean, that's a big number. So clearly there's something there. It's just when we think about the types of businesses that we feel like we can help grow, that we can have an impact on, those don't check the box for us as well. Another industry that's a tough one for us is software. It might be a little surprising because from my perspective, you look at software companies and tech companies and you really just feel like the sky's the limit. I mean, look at some of the biggest, most influential companies out there. Google, Meta, Apple, which is arguably hardware and software. But still, I mean, these are some of the biggest companies and they have almost unlimited growth potential. So on one hand, you could be like, why wouldn't you want to invest in that company? And the main reason is not that we don't like the fundamentals or that we think the market's going to stop growing. It's just that we don't really understand the business. You know, I have never had an idea for a social media platform. I don't think I ever will. You know, I also don't understand how or when a software program needs to be updated or when a new platform needs to be developed. Again, almost all of my apprehension or aversion to buying a software company is around my own ignorance of the industry. Perhaps that's short-sighted on my part or foolish on my part not to take the time to educate myself on the industry because it can be so profitable. However, I would say that we typically like, more boring businesses. We like businesses that make widgets and create products that are used in everyday life, and we're probably okay with that. We probably are turning away from companies that could be worth billions of dollars, but that's just not a type of risk that we've been able to get comfortable with, even though many others have and have done very well with it. So the third industry is another one that's kind of an anomaly. I don't know any of these folks, but from time to time I've seen a private jet or a helicopter and have been able to determine who it was, and some of the time, not always, but some of the time it was the owner of a construction company. Oftentimes in different metropolitan areas, some of the largest companies in the area are construction companies. So if all these construction company owners have private jets and are some of the largest companies in the area, why wouldn't that be an attractive industry for 4 Pillars to invest in? Well, I think the main reason here is that construction companies and construction in general are often very cyclical in terms of revenue and earnings. If you look at a construction company over a long period of time, maybe 10, 20 years, typically if it's a well-run company with solid leadership, a strategy for growth, checking all the fundamentals that we typically look for in a business, over that 10 to 20 years, it's going to demonstrate tremendous growth. It's going to be very profitable. And from an investing perspective of 20 years, it would probably be a very good investment. However, one of the shortcomings in private equity, which I will freely admit, is that that the hold periods are typically a little bit shorter. Whenever you're looking at a construction company, you might have had 5 good years of operations, but who's to say what the next 5 years are going to look like? You know, the next 5 years might be great as well, but then if you need to sell after, 10 years instead of 5, okay, what are the next 5 years going to look like? I think the takeaway here is that, unless you're selling to a strategic that, is already going to take into account the fact that there's that cyclicality, even if a financial buyer has a 10-year hold period, there's still some uncertainty and risk associated with when the downturn is going to happen. Because, in construction, there's going to be a downturn. Is it going to be 10 years in between a downturn? Is it going to be 15? Is it going to be 5? Is it going to be 2? Very difficult to assess that. But that's why it is a hard industry to invest in, because you don't know when that downturn will happen, and it's very impactful to the overall return of your investment if you don't time it right. And what I would say is, we're not trying to be in the business of timing our investments. We want to look for companies that are good today, that are good tomorrow, and are going to be good in 5 years, regardless of whether we bought it last year, we bought it today, or we buy it next year. Timing is very important in a lot of industries, and I get that. Timing is very important in investing in the stock market, depending on your hold period as well. However, again, one of the most important aspects to us is buying businesses that are stable and will withstand the test of time. You've heard about the 3 businesses I would not buy, but before I talk to you about the 3 businesses that get me excited, we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsor. Hold on. Yeah? Well, I didn't want you to sponsor this video anyway. I think we're good to move on to the next section. 3 businesses that do get me excited. This section is a little bit different because it's not necessarily an industry or an actual business. It's more along the lines of, conditions or mindsets that are reflected by the company or the ownership or characteristic of the employees that really get us excited, generally speaking. I would say the first category of business that really gets us excited is whenever the business owner or the management team or combination of the above knows what the business is really about and really takes that to heart and tries to grow the business based off that understanding. I understand that was very vague and nebulous, so let me give you a real life example. One of the companies that we've been talking to is a home services company. They do a variety of services in the home and have really focused on customer service, meeting deadlines, et cetera, et cetera. When you ask the company what they do, they don't say we're a home services business. They don't say we're out there to try and make our customer lives better, et cetera, et cetera. They tell you they're a sales and marketing company. And quite frankly, I completely agree with them. When you hear how they've structured their business, when you hear about the processes that are in place, it was really refreshing because not only do they say they're a sales and marketing company, but their processes and procedures absolutely back that up. Whenever they have a process to follow whenever they're trying to land a new client. They have a process to follow whenever they're handing over the client from a salesperson to the person that's actually going to complete the job. Several more examples of that show not only does the business owner think about his business beyond just the nuts and bolts of what they actually do on a day-to-day basis in order to bring in revenue, but what is the lifeblood of the business, and then structure their processes, their goals, their procedures around what type of business they actually are. I think you can make the argument that the vast majority of businesses, or even a very large number of businesses, are in fact sales and marketing companies. At the end of the day, you need to have people that are willing to give you money for your product or service. However, if you look at one of our portfolio companies, I would make the argument that it really isn't a sales and marketing company. The companies that we own in the Portland area, Eagle, Precision, Turk, which are being rebranded as QPD, they are essentially contract machining, contract metalworking companies that serve a number of different industries. Now, of course, the sales and marketing component is important. However, I would make the argument that really these companies are trying to solve problems for their customers. Whenever our customers come to us for these companies, it's a very complex part that they're looking for. It often entails different processes that are not typically handled by a machining shop or a metalworking shop. And so from our experience, it's common for a lot of folks to say, well, we can try to do that, but that's going to be very difficult. We don't know how to do that, or we're only going to do this part of it. And so our perspective is that if our customers come to us with a difficult part that has challenges and has intricacies that make it not attractive to everyone, that's when we're going to raise our hand, because we view that as a huge opportunity to go to our customer and say, we understand you have this problem and we're going to solve it for you. Another type of business that gets us excited is a business in which the owner or the management team feel like they are lacking something in order to take the business to the next level. And not only do they feel like that, they know what it is. And whatever they are lacking is something that 4 Pillars can help provide directly, or we have the ability to help them fill that void. A common scenario we see along these lines is a company that's capital constrained. Sometimes this is due to the fact that an owner is approaching retirement age. A vast percentage of his or her net worth is tied up in the business, and the owner doesn't have the risk profile or the investment horizon to pursue growth because of the capital expense required to do so. That's a situation that we're happy to step into, because we realize that if growth didn't require some resource, then the company would have pursued it already. Another good example, not to always talk about sales and marketing, but it is a key theme for us here. But oftentimes we talk to business owners that daunted, I guess, by the prospect of implementing a sales and marketing function within their company. Sometimes we'll hear from business owners and they'll say, well, if we just had some salespeople or this or that, we could just take revenues through the roof. And we always think in the back of our head, well, we know how hard it is to build out a sales and marketing function, and there's probably a reason why you didn't do that already, and that's because of the risk associated with it, as well as the fact that there is a learning curve, and experience helps you get better at building out those functions and those capabilities. Regarding the third type of business that gets me excited, I need to digress just a moment. I think I've said before on a video that I'm probably not the most exciting guy at a cocktail party or something along those lines. And the reason why is because some of the things that get me excited might not get other people excited. And I say this only partially in jest, but one of the things that gets me more excited than anything is a roll-up opportunity. Now, how boring and pathetic does that sound? What I mean by a roll-up opportunity is just a company that is in the industry that has a lot of fragmentation. Think of an industry unlike grocery stores or something along those lines, where whatever grocery store you go to most likely is part of a national chain. A lot of the businesses that we really feel like are the most successful, as well as have the highest opportunity for growth, are the ones that are very specialized within a broader industry, but have the potential to grow by purchasing and integrating their competitors or other participants in the market. Sometimes you're picking up new capabilities. Sometimes you're picking up customers in new geographies. Sometimes you're just picking up, you're making an acquisition due to equipment or even people within the company. But anyway, the prospect of a company that has the potential to make acquisition after acquisition, again, I get that it's kind of boring and maybe a little bit nerdy. Those types of situations really get me excited. Now, with the name 4 Pillars Investors, we do have 4 principles or pillars that we live by, but in terms of when we're looking at acquisitions, one of the processes that is really core to us is that we make every effort to go beyond the surface level attractiveness or unattractiveness of a business and really get to know the business. Because sometimes what we found is that a business that might look appealing at a $30,000 foot level, once you really get into it, it's not quite as attractive. However, what I will tell you is that more often, sometimes we'll see a business that doesn't look so interesting at the 30,000 foot level, but because we take the time to really get to know the business, to get to understand the people, as well as the growth potential, we see that it's really a diamond in the rough, and one that could really be a great opportunity for us to work on and work together. Now, I'm not sure if you agree with the types of businesses I like or don't like, but please let me know if there's one that I missed or one that you think I'm a little bit off base on in the comments, and be sure to like and subscribe as well.